welcome everyone back for another episode of Steel and Whiskey. I'm your host, David Zabka, and I have with me here today Randy Warnaar. I think I got that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
It's the Dutch A's at the end that get everybody.
Very good. And Randy, you are with Fabstation. Is that correct?
That's correct. You got it.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So first things first, we'll get into a little bit longer introduction here of who Randy is, who Fabstation is, why we've got Randy here today. But always got to start first things first here. What are we drinking? So steel and whiskey. What are we drinking here? So I've got a bourbon whiskey. It's called Woodinville. So it's actually up from Washington State, actually. And if I'm not mistaken, not too far from you. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, we're out here on Vancouver Island.
Vancouver Island. Okay, so this is pure coincidence, and I didn't even think about the fact that you were probably close by. So you have any idea where Woodinville, Washington is?
I have no idea.
No idea. I'm gonna have to look it up and figure out if it's close to you when we're done.
That one. I have no idea. I've never heard of it.
Okay. Well, same state anyway, and that's pure coincidence of what I'm drinking. I do this show enough that I've just always got to kind of look for something new, little variety. So I'm always looking like, oh, hey, sure, I'll try that bottle, whatever, at the store. So that's what I have today. What you got?
So I've gone with something a little more traditional.
Okay.
A good old classic single malt Scotch whiskey.
Yeah.
So this one's a Glenfarclas 25. For this one, I'm not actually the whiskey drinker in the house. It's my wife who's the whiskey drinker. You wouldn't know it by seeing her. She definitely does not look like a whiskey drinker, but for whatever reason, she just really enjoys herself a good single malt. So this one I bought for her on her birthday. It was kind of a special occasion. But I'm a little guilty in that I bought her a single malt that I would enjoy as well, because she actually likes this kind, which is the Ardbeg, which is the really peaty, strong, really strong smelling whiskey. And I personally just can't drink it. I just can't stand it. So I kind of gifted her a really nice whiskey, but kind of gifted it to myself in a way too, so that I could enjoy it with her.
There you go. There you go. So it's funny you tell that story. So you and I were at FabTech in Chicago just last week. I had an opportunity to meet you in person, met your wife in person while I was there as well. And you're absolutely right. I would have never pegged her for the whiskey drinker of the two. So.
Yep.
Pretty funny story. So, well, we'll find out afterwards. I'm certainly going to go look up and find out if this Woodinville deal is close to you. So
yeah, I know if it's anything like the microbreweries that have sort of popped up everywhere in the Northwest, I'm seeing a lot of distilleries pop up all over the place too. So there's some really interesting just boutique whiskeys and gins and stuff like that popping up. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome.
I feel like there's a new thing on the shelf every time I go. There's a liquor store. It's called The Still, not too far from our office here.
Nice.
That's where I typically go to find my whiskey. They've got quite the variety there. But yeah, I think there's something new pops up on the shelf there every time I'm back, and I think it's probably due to what you're describing there. Same thing as the microbrews. They've got not everybody, lots and lots more distilleries popping up, like you said. So
yeah,
that's good.
It makes for a fun trip to the liquor store. It's kind of like the old days when you used to look for a video to watch. You kind of scour the shelf for something interesting.
Well, I can't tell you the last time I had to scan a shelf and look at a shelf to figure out what video I'm gonna want. That's
Yeah,
been what
it's. I
10.
think I think I'm dating myself a little bit there.
So don't get me wrong, I did that. It's just been what 12, probably 12 to 15 years since I've had to walk into a video store and pick out a video that way. So yeah, funny. Well, so sorry we get off topic already. We're skipping over some of the good stuff that people need to know here. So, what what's your story, Randy? Give us a little history. What's your experience? What how do you fit into the steel world here with us?
So I'm a generational steel kid, I guess you could say. So my dad started a steel company 40 years ago, and kind of worked through all the different ranks in the business, from day one sweeping the floors and cleaning the bathrooms to getting into the office and getting more involved in the planning and the managing of the company and the different day-to-day operations. My main focus, when I was kind of working in the shop and kind of on the ground, was actually in erection. I kind of like the freedom of traveling around a little bit, and just found it really interesting actually putting the buildings together. So it really gave me a good idea of how things were coming out of the shop and if they actually fit or not, and how and some of the sort of nuances, I guess you could say, when you're trying to make everything fit and jam it all together.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was an interesting journey for me to kind of start at the bottom and work my way up. Gave me a good perspective on the industry, and kind of, I guess, informed me as to sort of where some of the gaps were, and what were some of the missing pieces for us, and that's kind of what led me in the direction of developing Fabstation in the first place.
Mhm. Okay. So yeah, it sounds like yeah, you've done a variety of things then within the steel industry. So that's always great to it's always great to have that range of knowledge, right? You know what this need, what each step needs and is looking for. So that's yeah, that's invaluable. So very good, very good. And did you say at the beginning of this, did you say you're Dutch? Dutch background, is that
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So Dutch background. My father came over from Holland when he was about 26 as a junior engineer,
Okay.
and worked in some of the bigger steel plants in Ontario in Canada,
Hmm.
and then moved out west, as many do in the U.S. Move out
Yeah.
west to California. Well, our California was Kelowna, which is kind of this small town by a lake. We don't really have the glitzy sort of ocean shoreline
Okay.
community to move to, but for us that was it. And yeah, we went there on vacation and basically never left.
Okay. Interesting. Well, we have a quite the character within our company, All Plant, who is Dutch. He
Uh,
live, lives on the other side of the pond. Ramon is his name. So if Ramon's
okay,
listening, I gotta say hello to Ramon, and
cheers.
he'll very much appreciate that I had someone who is Dutch on the show with me here. So
Excellent.
yeah. So, tell us a little bit about Fabstation then. What is Fabstation?
So for me, one of the things that I always noticed and really got excited about actually in the industry was um, how they embraced, or how we embraced, 3D modeling. So I was kind of back in the day in high school doing some CAD modeling with AutoCAD, and then um, worked in the drafting department for a little bit, with pen and paper or pencil and paper, smudging my drawings, and was happy to sort of finally kind of get on a computer. I was a bit of a messy drawer. So getting on the computer was actually a real benefit for me. And then to see that sort of evolve into these 3D models, which, you know, we kind of take that for granted for today, but it was really, in my mind, a revolution in the industry. And to see that model, that information, somewhat trapped in the office, you know, with the stakeholders, and not really being available as much to the people actually building these assemblies and these projects, it felt like a disconnect to me. So I really wanted to try and find a way to do that in a meaningful way. So for us, in particular, it really kind of hit home when we had a really complex project. It was built by, or was a resort from Swarovski crystal family, and as part of this resort, we had to build this giant crystal facade at the entryway, at the lobby. This crystal facade required a big steel pipe framing to kind of support the glazing that looked like the crystal. So it was all these giant pipes coming together in sort of a nodal structure. And each of these pipes had all of these clips that had to be located around the radius of the pipe, and in different sort of pitch angles, compound angles, in order to support some guy wires that would attach to the glazing. So this was one instance where, you know, the detailer, God bless him, did an amazing job. Basically detailed everything, including the guy wires, including the glazing, everything in 3D model. However, the drawings became so complex, our fabricators really couldn't make heads or tails of the 2D drawings. So it was really one of the first times that we had to bring the laptop down to the shop floor and just kind of go through it step by step to really understand how we're going to build this thing. I mean, really, we're literally building a piano, because all of the guy wires were coming out of Europe. They had to be within a 16th or less. So it was a pretty tricky operation. So I think that really galvanized for me the need to have this sort of contextual model available to the fabricators. So that's where Fabstation came in. Augmented reality is that sort of contextual tool that can be used to actually bring that 3D model into their space, live into their space instead of onto a flat screen.
Okay, so augmented reality, really you're taking the 3D model and you're kind of overlaying that on top of the steel within the shop then, correct?
Yep.
Yeah,
so that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yep. And tell me, so you said augmented reality, correct? So I'm going to ask you a question here. I think I know the answer. Probably not everybody does, but for the audience out there who maybe doesn't fully understand, we've probably all heard the terms augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality. So it's AR, VR, all the acronyms that go along with it, right? So you're talking augmented reality. And can you explain to us a little bit the difference in augmented reality versus virtual reality or mixed reality?
Sure. This gets as confusing for me as it does for everyone else, to be honest. The only one that really sort of stands out as different is virtual reality. I think everybody can agree that if you have sort of a closed visor and you're in your own little world, that's virtual reality. However, even those lines are somewhat being blurred, as they have now little cameras on the outside of these VR glasses, and they're starting to introduce a video feed of the outside world. So now they have this sort of video pass through. They're dubbing this mixed reality. And to confuse things further, what our primary device is called the HoloLens 2, made by Microsoft. They're also dubbing their device mixed reality. However, what they're doing actually is they've got a clear visor, and they're able to project these 3D images in your line of sight. So they're projecting these 3D images inside the lens, which then to you, the user, will seem like it's actually in your environment. So that's kind of mixed reality. And then augmented reality is the similar experience, except experienced through a flat device. So through your phone, through your tablet, that sort of thing. So if you're looking through a camera and then seeing the screen on your phone, but having some digital model or asset sort of in that environment, that would be considered augmented reality. So now I just say forget all that. Let's just stick with augmented reality if something is digital and it's in your environment. That's just my 2 cents worth, but I'm not the one making the names up, I guess. So,
well, I think so. The best way I've always kind of looked at it a little bit is augmented reality is kind of a mixture of the two worlds, right? So you're seeing this, but you're still interacting with the real world and real objects. That's the way my brain always understands it, and the simplest way that I can understand that or explain it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's different companies making different products, come out with all kinds of different jargon. Now I think Apple is coming out with their new device, and they're calling it spatial computing, and they're avoiding any mention of augmented reality or mixed reality. So we'll get another definition we'll have to come up with here pretty soon.
Well, yeah. So it's what was it? It was
spatial computing.
Spatial compute. So now we'll have SC to throw around now.
Yes.
Pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
As if we don't have enough acronyms for all the different things out there.
It's hard to keep track.
It absolutely is. Yeah. So, so how long have you been doing this then? How long has Fabstation existed? How long have people been using this?
So we started our experimentation back in 2019. We started with just the very first version of the HoloLens, and we just wanted to see if we could put a steel assembly in there and just overlay it, and then kind of see if it was stable, what kind of accuracy we could get, that sort of thing. So those tests, they went really well, actually better than expected. So it was really, it really gave me a lot of optimism that this could be something that could be used in a steel shop. And then of course, just after we started this, and I got a few developer friends involved, and we started building this out, COVID kind of happened,
right.
which was a bit of a challenge. We got a long ways to developing it, but we really had no way of showing anybody what we had built. So we kind of spent that COVID time in our own shop, really working out the bugs, working with our fabricators to see, is this working? Is this helpful? And just trying to find the best, most efficient workflow in using the tool. And then by the time we sort of came out of it, and we had our first show, which was FabTech 2 years ago in Chicago. So that was kind of an anniversary for me, going to that last FabTech. but yeah, going to that FabTech, that was kind of our debut where we could show the industry like, hey, look what we built. This is something that everybody thought would be the future, or maybe, some sort of Tony Stark dream in a long time from now, but it's actually something that is possible today.
Okay, very good, very good. So, yeah, relatively new technology, relatively new product here. And then so kind of started and been developing this in your own shop, so that's great. So we know that it works in the real world applications and such. Um, and then I assume after a few years of doing this, you have people using this in practice on live projects now then, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So
Yeah.
one of the things that we discovered early, or the real strength of the product, is using it for inspection.
Okay.
So giving it to your QC personnel, giving them the HoloLens, giving them sort of ownership over it. With the device, we're able to do the QC inspection 2 times faster. It's 10 times more accurate. Now, that seems like a dubious claim, but the reality is a lot of times you'll see fabricators, perhaps misinterpreting drawings, not saying that's it's neither here nor there, whether it's a detailing thing or just someone not reading the drawings properly. But chances are, if they're misinterpreting it or reading it wrong, there's always a good opportunity that the QC person is going to read it in a similar way. So, mistakes can kind of slip through the cracks. Whereas when you're seeing exactly what was designed through the 3D model and compare that and do this comparison exercise to what was built, there really is no room for misinterpreting any information from the drawing. So that's where we've seen really the strongest use case.
Mhm.
And it kind of really goes back to my old days in the steel shop when I was out in the field. A lot of times we're getting things that are wrong, and we're just adapting to it. We're wrenching over things to make the holes work, or we're snapping something off and refitting it. But nowadays it's a lot harder to do that. Engineers are getting a bit stickier. You have to see a lot more paperwork. So catching these errors, catching these things before they get to site is going to avoid that sort of mistake, avoid the rework, avoid the crane delays, and just make a better product, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So sounds like the biggest use case, the main use case then is that QC, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Are there any fabricators who are actually using it to lay out, or are we not quite there yet with this technology?
So we're not quite there yet to use it exclusively. What you see is where you place it, kind of a thing. We do have fabricators using it for layout. However, we do recommend that they get some experience with it, either through inspecting their own work first, before they start laying out with it, or just getting general proficiency with it. One of the challenges is just getting the alignment sort of perfect. Most fabricators, if you ask them, they think all of their work is perfect. So what we guarantee is that the layout will be within a 16th. Well, for some, this is not good enough. Like, they want it to be on the line, no 16th drift here and there. So what we recommend is using it in conjunction with, say, scribing systems, which is a really strong use case for us, because we get a lot of complaints from fabricators where they say, well, we got sold the scribing system, but we don't use it. It's a bottleneck. We just don't get the production when we try and scribe everything. So we give them the opportunity to reduce the scribing down to just pop marks, so that our system is able to give the fabricator the context of what the pop mark represents, but also that pop mark is giving our system the reference it needs to be 100% perfect. So the fabricator has that peace of mind. Yeah, so that's our big recommendation for layout. Now,
Yeah.
we're always improving, and the goal is to be a layout system where you don't need any additional aids. We have some things in the pipeline now that that we're experimenting with, such as object recognition, that will most likely enable this in the very near future.
Okay. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the challenges, I guess, that, what are the biggest challenges, or I guess tell me about some of the training and the challenges people go through to actually implement this within their shop. Like, can I start using this? Like, do I need a week-long training on this thing? Do I need what's the ramp up time and the training and things that people got to figure out and overcome in order to use this?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's kind of similar when you introduce any type of CNC machinery or an ERP or MRP system. Any new system that you add to your shop requires some sort of change management. You need to come into it with your eyes open. You need to have a bit of a plan, and then you need to have the people who are actually going to use it involved and have them sort of have some buy-in, some ownership that they want to use it. A lot of times we'll see very enthusiastic owners that really see the benefits, go and subscribe, and then just hand it off to somebody and go, here, you use this, and they have no buy-in whatsoever. So it's really important to just kind of get everybody involved, and we get everybody on a call. We just make sure we explain exactly what it's for and what it does. And then once we have that buy-in, then we have a really good onboarding system. We spent a lot of time sort of building up our documentation, our guidance system, so that you get on with our customer service manager, Mia, and basically go through this 15-day onboarding program. So rather than sort of just blast you with hours and hours of classroom session, we kind of take it down to bite-size little sessions where you do 15-minute sessions every day, and part of that's either going through a guide or doing some actual practical application. And by the end of it, you're an expert user and proficient with the software.
So 15 minutes, let's say approximately 15 minutes a day for 15 days, and somebody's going to be pretty efficient with this then.
Absolutely. And they'll be using it basically from day 2. They can already do some inspection. But by the time that they're at the end of day 15, they're inspecting trusses, they're inspecting, more, pretty much anything that you can throw at it, you could inspect by the end of that period.
Okay. Very interesting. Very cool. Yeah, that's all good stuff. So then, of course, I come from, SDS2, obviously. I come from the detailing world. That software, we obviously have to exchange this data, this information from what the detailer creates in the 3D world and transfer it over to the Fabstation so that it can be used there as well. So tell us a little bit about what it is that is needed from the 3D software to go to Fabstation and implement this and exchange that data.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Pretty much all the elements that we need are all things that are included in submittals already.
Okay.
one of the things is a bit of a throwback to FabTrol. So we require a KISS file.
Okay.
The reason we use this was because it's somewhat ubiquitous across all the different platforms, and it gives us essentially the same information that's in the transmittal. So we see, what's important, what assemblies are important, gives us a bit of metadata as far as what size of material and all that sort of thing. So we use that to guide us, to tell us what's part of the submittal package. Then we just take the PDF drawings. So, all of the assembly drawings, including the part drawings.
Okay.
So that's something that we do that's a little bit unique, is we've built a paperless system on top of this as well, so that you can have access to your assembly drawings as well as the part drawings that are associated with that assembly drawing. It's all sort of in one fabrication area, all easily accessible within a couple of clicks. So that's pretty convenient. And then also we take the IFC project model.
Okay.
So rather than any kind of individual IFC files, it's actually the project model that we take, and then we upload everything to our website as just one package, and then from there we process it in our Microsoft Azure cloud server, and it gets stored and readily available to be distributed to any device that you have in your company.
Okay, so this is an interesting piece that I'm not sure I was aware of. So is there any like local installation of software, or everything's all, you throw it up to the cloud? Like you said, you've got the Azure cloud, so nobody's got to install like local desktop software or anything like that. You throw it up into the cloud, and then it communicates with the devices through the cloud then. Is that right?
100%. Yep, 100%. No
Okay.
server installations, no worries about maintaining a local server, anything like that. So it's all web-based or all cloud-based. The apps themselves are available on the Play Store or Google Play, or all the different app stores. So easy to find, easy to install. Everything sets up pretty painlessly. Yeah. I know a lot of softwares require IT staff to help set it up, but most of our customers, we can just kind of guide them through it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's kind of the way the world is going, and a lot of benefit to doing so. So I'm always interested by that, and great to hear that. So, hey, you know what? I learned something today. I kind of knew most of what you were going through already. That was a piece I didn't know, so I learned something today, even too.
Awesome.
So that's always good. So always learning, right?
Yeah. You betcha.
Yeah.
You betcha.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. So, I mean, great story. I mean, it sounds like great product. It's a great idea. Something that's very useful. A lot of times I feel like, we see products or tech come out on the market, and it's kind of like, well, yeah, that's cool, but it's not really useful. This is actually something that's very useful, solves a problem, increases productivity, enhances the process for people. So pretty awesome stuff there. So yeah, I mean, anything else that we missed that you feel like is important, people should know, or something you want to add to this conversation?
Yeah, I think one thing that I always find really interesting when using the software is that when you're doing the QC process, when you're measuring things out and trying to figure out if everything's working the way it should, or placed where it should, it's always tricky to navigate. If something has sweep, or if there's twist in the material, or the material itself is just not perfect. So fabricators are always making decisions about, okay, what's my 0 point, and what am I working off of to make this all work? and everybody's trying to sort of figure that puzzle out on top of building what they're building. The nice thing about our software is it will put that perfect model, that perfect beam, that perfect construction over top of your somewhat imperfect assembly. And so you're able to actually see, okay, how much of these things are happening, like sweep or twist or whatever. And then you can make decisions whether, it's going to be acceptable. Do you need to put some heat to it, and all of those sort of skills, those soft skills that QC people and fabricators develop, such as, looking down a beam and seeing, if it's straight or all that, they're all really hard things to teach someone. So when you're able to give them a tool like this, even someone who's not, who's new to the industry and doesn't have a ton of experience, they can see and identify these things as well. So it's a really good way of kind of getting that new generation some better tools to kind of help them get up to speed and really catch up to some of these people who might be retiring in the near future.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that either. That's a interesting thought, interesting tidbit there. I everybody's always looking for the skilled laborers and people who are skilled in this industry, and that's really difficult to find. So something like this being used as kind of a training tool as well is a great thought here. So yeah, very cool. Well, we are a couple weeks out from the SDS2 Summit coming up in Omaha. Obviously, I got to give a plug there, right? But you're gonna be at Summit. You're gonna join us at the SDS2 Summit in Omaha in a couple weeks, correct?
Yeah, excited. Really
Very
excited
good.
to head out there.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So, yeah, I mean, this is great information, great conversation. I learned something today, which is great as well. So, I think we're coming up on the end of things here. I would just, whoever's listening, anybody in the audience, if this hits before Summit starts, make sure if you're not signed up, you sign up for Summit and come learn a little bit more from Randy and myself and a whole bunch of other people that'll be at Summit here in a couple of weeks in Omaha. So yeah, Randy, thank you. Appreciate you coming on the show here. Appreciate your time. It's been very good. So
cheers. Thanks,
all
David.
right.
Thanks for having
Cheers.
me, and look forward to meeting everybody at the SDS2 Summit. Looking forward to it a lot.
All right. See everybody next time on Steel and Whiskey. All right.
Perfect. Take care, everyone.